All right, welcome back to Mind the Gap, the podcast where we unpack the things that are quietly reshaping how we live and work. Today, I've got two amazing guests with me. We've got Jordan, who's been working remotely for almost 6 years now, and Derek, who recently went back to the office full-time. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Maya. Honestly, I'm excited. This is a topic I could talk about for hours.
Same here, though fair warning, I might be the villain of this episode.
No villains here, just different perspectives. So let's dive right in. Jordan, you've been remote since basically the pandemic hit. What's the biggest misconception people have about remote work?
Oh, easily, that it's less work. People assume you're just lounging around in pajamas, sipping coffee, barely doing anything. In reality, I think a lot of remote workers actually overcompensate. We end up working longer hours because there's this underlying pressure to prove we're being productive.
That's interesting, because from my side, when I was remote, I felt the opposite. Like nobody was checking in, so it was easy to let things slide. I think it really depends on the person's discipline level.
So it sounds like remote work is kind of a double-edged sword. It can either bring out your best habits or your worst ones.
Exactly. And I think companies underestimate how much structure matters. When you take away the office, you're not just removing a building. You're removing routines, social cues, even unspoken accountability.
Right, and that's actually why I went back. I missed the structure. I missed having colleagues physically there to bounce ideas off of. There's something about spontaneous conversations. Like you're getting coffee and someone mentions a project, and suddenly you're collaborating on something you wouldn't have otherwise.
That's a great point. Those water cooler moments are hard to replicate virtually.
They are, but I'd argue they're not impossible. They just require more intentionality. My team does these informal virtual hangouts, like 15-minute no-agenda calls, just to chat. It's not the same, but it fills that gap.
See, but that's the thing. Scheduling a spontaneous conversation kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? It feels forced.
Okay, this is exactly the tension I wanted to explore. Let's bring AI into this, because I think it's about to completely upend this whole conversation. Derek, how is AI changing things at your office?
Oh, it's everywhere now. We've got AI tools drafting emails, summarizing meetings, even helping with code reviews. Honestly, it's made a lot of repetitive tasks faster, but it's also raised this weird existential question among my coworkers. Like, if AI can do half my job, what's actually left for me to do?
That's the conversation happening in remote spaces too, but I think the angle is slightly different. For us, AI isn't just a tool, it's almost like a teammate. I use AI to draft outlines, brainstorm, even simulate feedback before I send something to my actual team. It's like having a sounding board available 24/7.
Do you think that changes the skills people need going forward? Like, is knowing how to do the task becoming less important than knowing how to direct the task?
100%. I think the most valuable skill right now is knowing how to ask the right questions, how to give context, how to refine an idea through iteration. It's less about execution and more about judgment.
I'll be honest, that makes me a little nervous, because judgment takes experience, and a lot of that experience traditionally came from doing the grunt work first. If junior employees skip that stage because AI does it for them, what happens to their development?
Ooh, that's a really sharp point. So you're saying AI might be solving today's efficiency problem while creating tomorrow's expertise gap.
Exactly. It's like, sure, the report gets written faster, but did the person actually learn anything from writing it? Or did they just learn how to prompt something else to write it?
I see what you're saying, but I'd push back slightly. I think the skills are shifting, not disappearing. Maybe the next generation won't need to manually format spreadsheets, but they'll need to deeply understand what makes data meaningful, what questions to ask of it. That's arguably a higher order skill.
It's almost like we're moving up a level of abstraction. Less, how do I do this? More, why are we doing this? And is this even the right thing to do?
Right, but here's my concern. Abstraction requires a foundation. You can't have good instincts about why if you've never struggled with how.
That's fair. Maybe the answer is some kind of hybrid. Junior employees still do some hands-on work, but with AI as a collaborator rather than a replacement. Like an apprentice using power tools instead of hand tools, but still learning the craft.
I love that analogy. Okay, let's pivot slightly. Work-life balance. Jordan, remote work was supposed to give people more balance. Has it actually delivered on that promise?
Mixed bag, honestly. On one hand, I've reclaimed hours I used to spend commuting. On the other hand, the boundary between work and life has gotten blurry. My laptop is always right there. It's tempting to just check one more thing at 9 p.m.
This is actually one of the reasons I went back to the office. When I leave the building, I mentally leave work behind. There's a physical transition that helps me switch off.
So it's not really about where you work, but whether you have rituals that signal work mode versus life mode.
Exactly. I've had to build those rituals intentionally. I literally close my laptop, put it in a drawer, and go for a walk. It sounds silly, but it's become my version of leaving the office.
See, but that's the thing. Scheduling a spontaneous conversation kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? It feels forced.
Maybe because work has become less about a place and more about a mindset. And mindsets are harder to switch off than buildings are to leave.
That's beautifully put, actually. I might steal that.
Go for it. Okay, before we wrap up, quick lightning round. If you could change one thing about the future of work, what would it be? Derek, you first.
I'd want companies to be more honest about what they actually need from employees. Flexibility shouldn't just be a buzzword. If results matter more than hours, prove it through how people are evaluated, not just through optional remote days.
Strong answer. Jordan?
I'd want AI literacy to be treated like a core skill, not an optional extra. The same way we treat reading or basic math. Because right now, there's a huge gap between people who know how to leverage these tools and people who don't. And that gap is only going to widen.
Both excellent points. And honestly, a perfect note to end on. Thank you both so much for this. This was such a rich conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this was great. Same time next week?
We'll see. Thanks everyone for listening to Mind the Gap. See you next time. Vocabulary and idioms list. Overcompensate. To do more than necessary to make up for something, often due to insecurity. Double-edged sword. Something that has both positive and negative effects. Water cooler moments. Casual, spontaneous chats at work, named after office water coolers. Intentionality. Doing something on purpose, with clear intent. Defeats the purpose. Makes an action pointless or contradictory to its goal. Existential question. A deep question about meaning, purpose, or identity. Sounding board. A person or thing used to test ideas/get feedback. Grunt work. Boring, repetitive, often low-level tasks. Expertise gap. A lack of necessary skill or knowledge in a field. Higher order skill. A more advanced, complex cognitive skill. Level of abstraction. A degree of conceptual thinking, away from concrete details. Mixed bag. A combination of good and bad elements. Lightning round. A quick segment with fast questions and short answers. Buzzword. A trendy word/phrase often overused without real meaning. Leverage. To use something effectively to gain an advantage.